As of May 14th of this year, Minecraft turned 15 years old. And because this year is such a big milestone, I thought I'd make a video celebrating the best way I know how. Complaining. You know, for being technical here, Minecraft wasn't officially released until 2011, so this year would technically be its 13th birthday, but I guess that just doesn't sound nearly as cool. 15 years ago, on a warm afternoon in May, a Swedish game developer, going by the online moniker Notch, released the first ever build of his self-described Infiniminer clone to the public. Eventually, that game would go on to be the most popular game in history. As Minecraft grew, so did the team in charge of building the game. Starting out as just one guy, by the time Notch would sell Minecraft to Microsoft for $2.6 billion, a whole company would be brought on to aid in the development of the game. Mojang would then go on to be sold alongside Minecraft and continues to be the primary development force behind it and all of its spin-off games, though other studios like 4J would come along to help over the years. Now that is the briefest of brief overviews of Minecraft's history ever, but for the purpose of setting up today's topic, while not turning the opening portion of this video into a history lecture, it'll do. But after all of this time, one question still remains. Does Mojang even understand Minecraft? Do the developers of the world's best-selling game actually know what made Minecraft so popular in the first place? Hi, I'm Brian, and today I want to discuss why Minecraft's latest updates have been so polarizing within the fanbase, and if we have time, give a few ideas for future updates that could potentially solve the longest running of these issues. So without any further ado, let's begin. Now, what exactly do I mean when I say Mojang doesn't understand Minecraft? Well, two words. Form over function. What? Yes, I'm aware of that, but okay, fine. 3 words. Form over function. You happy? Good. Good Lord. Okay, so what exactly is form over function? Well, form over function is the idea that someone putting together a product decides to value the outward appeal of the product more than the product's ability to perform the task at which it was designed. Think if a company makes a super sleek, fast-looking race car, but neglects to make it actually fast. Or another company makes a super futuristic-looking computer tower, but it barely has the ability to play Minesweeper. Form over function focuses on making the finished product look as visually pleasing to the consumer as humanly possible in an attempt to convince people to buy it, even if its functionality is greatly limited. Now, why do I bring this up in comparison to Mojang? Well, it's because I believe that quite a bit of what Mojang have been putting out as of late have followed this philosophy, emphasizing beauty and surface level improvements over functionality any deeper than, oh, look, pretty! Let's use some of the items released in Minecraft Update 1.20, aka the Trails and Tales update, as an example of what I'm talking about. Note, as of writing this video, the 1.21 Tricky Trials update has already been released. I just haven't had a chance to actually play through it yet, and I've been trying to avoid spoilers for it, so that's why I'm only using 1.20 as the latest update to talk about. Also, I am going to do a live stream playthrough of 1.21 right here on this channel, so make sure to subscribe and have notifications turned on so you don't miss when that starts. Anyway, back to the show. First things first, we have the Sniffer. The Sniffer was the winner of 2022's mob vote, and if you want a rant-style video about the mob votes in general, click the card above or the link in the description down below. Regardless of that, the Sniffer was promised to be a, quote, ancient mob that we would only be able to obtain by finding a warm ocean ruin that contains suspicious sand and using the new archaeology brush on said sand to reveal a Sniffer egg. Hatching said egg would give you a baby Sniffer, which would eventually grow into a fully grown Sniffer with, good lord, that thing is massive. The main gimmick of the sniffer that got everyone super excited was its ability to sniff around the world looking for, quote, ancient items that it would then dig up for you, which sounds awesome, right? We got not only a brand new mob, but also some new items from Minecraft's past. I mean, heck, this could change every 2 seeds. The sniffer can only find 2 seeds. And it's not like they're useful seeds or anything. I mean, neither of them produce any new kind of crop. I mean, sure, they can both be used to make dyes, but like, come on. And not to mention, the torch flower doesn't even produce light. Like, seriously, that could have been such a great addition. But instead, we have a large mob that requires us to find a structure that most players don't usually seek out, using a system that is brand new in order to find 2 new plant variations that do basically nothing. Form over function. Next up, we have armor trims. Now, I know what y'all are thinking because I agree with you. Armor trims are a very cool addition to Minecraft. Not only do they add a variety of colors to armor that before would have only been possible using mods, but because each different style of armor trim spawns in a different structure around all 3 dimensions, it forces the player to have to actually go out and explore if they want to find every trim. This, in theory, would make the players excited to go out and explore to find all the different trims. Unfortunately, since the only changes the trims make to the armor are visual, this ends up not being enough incentive to go out and search for all the different ones, especially once you have crafted your main armor set and binded it all out with the armor trims that you like the most. Like, who's going out to search for something that they won't ever use? While a great concept, it's still an example, in my opinion, of form over function. The last thing I quickly want to touch on from 1.20 is archaeology, specifically the pottery sherds that you can dig up from the new suspicious variations of sand and gravel scattered throughout the different structures. And yes, I did mean sherds. This is the proper term for a piece of pottery found by archaeologists. These sherds all have different designs on them, and once found can be crafted together using a combination of either 4 different sherds, 3 different sherds, and a brick, or 4 different bricks to create a ceramic pot, which not only displays the designs of the different sherds, or lack of sherds, used to make it, and you can also store up to a stack of one specific item inside. This, in my opinion, is an example of when form over function works. You see, not every system in the game needs to have a particular use. Flowers, for example, while used to make dyes, don't usually grant the player any meaningful enhancements. Their main purpose is to be used as decorations and to give the world just that much more life. And the same can be said for pottery. Finding pottery sherds in old ruined structures shouldn't grant the player any extra health or attack damage or anything like that. All it should give the player is a sense of wonder at discovering bits of Minecraft's long forgotten world. And if a player decides not to participate in the search for these sherds in the game, then that's their decision. Making a pot is not something you are required to do, and so making it more of an optional little side quest works. But then, that brings up the question, why does pottery work, yet armor trims don't? Well, I'm not 100% sure myself, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say it has something to do with the unlimited amounts of decorated pots that the player can craft and place around their base, thus giving the player a reason to collect every sherd to complete the collection. The armor trims, in contrast, they don't really have that same kind of decorability as pottery. I mean, you could use armor stands to show off all your different trims, but not only would that look really tacky in a lot of bases, it also takes a lot of materials in order to make not only the armor needed to put the trims on, but also to duplicate the trims so that you can use the trims later if you ever decide to. Think about it. In total, there are 16 different armor trims that you can find, each of which can be applied to all 4 different armor pieces. So, in order to make a full set of armor for each set, you're going to need 16 full sets of armor. Now let's assume that you want to make each armor out of iron, because leather just looks ugly. Then you would need exactly 384 total iron ingots. That is 6 stacks. And that applies equally for if you would rather use gold or diamond. But then there's also netherite armor. What if you wanted to apply every armor trim to a set of netherite armor? How much would that cost? Well, I couldn't not answer that question, so let's quickly math. Firstly, you're going to need 16 full sets of diamond armor, because you can only get netherite armor by upgrading diamond armor. So that's 384 diamonds already. Then you're going to need the netherite upgrade smithing template, because without it you can't upgrade anything. You find these upgrades inside of treasure bastions, but you'll only ever find one per bastion. Luckily, they're dupable. By placing a smithing template inside a crafting table along with 7 diamonds and a piece of netherrack as shown here, you can duplicate a smithing template. Unfortunately for us though, you're still going to need to dupe this a total of 15 times, adding another 107 diamonds we need to collect, bringing our total diamond collection costs up to an astounding 491 diamonds. But we're still not done, because now, after we've got all that, we still need the netherite, a full stack of them. Netherite ingots are crafted from combining 4 netherite scraps and 4 gold ingots. Netherite scrap is found in the nether, usually in veins of 1 surrounded on all sides by netherrack, so it's about time to invest in that mattress store your dad owns. In the ground, you'll collect ancient debris, which you can then smelt down into the netherrack scrap, which is then combined with the gold to make netherite. Doing the math here, that means you're going to need to find a grand total of 256 ancient debris in order to make the amount of netherite needed for this task, and same goes for the gold. So in total, to craft just the armor needed for each armor trim to be placed onto full netherite and displayed in your house, you would need almost 491 diamonds, 256 netherite scrap, 256 gold ingots, and a netherite upgrade template. Now that's a lot of resources, and yet you're still going to have to dupe the armor trims. That's another 336 diamonds, as well as the specific center blocks you need to dupe each different trim, like mossy cobblestone and granite, and dear lord, I think I'm going insane. As you can see, no normal person is going through the effort to display each armor trim throughout their base, so then why would they ever decide to go through the effort to find every armor trim? Especially after they've already crafted the perfect set of armor. I mean, it's not like each armor trim could give the wearer some small stat boost that corresponds with whatever location the trim was discovered in. Right? So, I lied at the beginning of the video. You see, while I do like complaining about things, and trust me, I do like complaining about things, I also like to give ideas as to how the problems I bring up can be fixed. For example, a good way to make the sniffer less useless is twofold. 1, make them rideable. Don't make them as fast as a horse, maybe as fast as the player sprinting, but give them the ability to store 2 double chests worth of items on their backs. This gives them functionality for carrying large assortments of items from one place to another. And secondly, let them interact with the suspicious sand and gravel blocks, and just like the brush, they can uncover whatever item is inside of that block. This would give the player a mob they can actually use when on an adventure. For 1, it would be worth taking for storage space alone, and 2, it can also act as an assistant when searching for pottery sherds and other rare items inside of sand and gravel. Maybe this doesn't give them a lot more reason to exist, but I don't think it could hurt to give them more functionality. I mean, they could also just add a bunch more ancient plants, like a new food type or a few new flowers, but that one's obviously a given. Obviously. But now, back onto the armor trims, because I'm sure you're wondering what I was talking about when I said they should, quote, give the wearer some small stat boost that corresponds with whatever location the trim was discovered in. I don't know why I keep doing that. Well, let me explain. As of right now, armor trim's only use is to make your armor look pretty, and I think they do quite a good job at that. However, once the player finds a set they particularly like, there isn't much of a reason for them to go out and find the rest of the trims, seeing as though swapping out different trims takes a lot of resources to do and doesn't really grant any major advantage in return. It's like if every set of armor in the game gave the exact same amount of protection as each other, but still cost increasingly more in terms of material to make. You see, most players would stick to iron or even leather armor because they're the easiest materials to get, either by being the most abundant or being farmable. But because each set gets progressively better and more protective, it entices the player to seek out the next tier of armor. I want to do something similar with armor trims. Not make them give more protection than others, obviously, but instead, I think that each different armor trim should grant a different minor status effect based on their location in which they were found. And by minor, I mean like small enough to not be game breaking, but big enough to entice players to use different armor trims for different purposes. Now, if you want a full rundown of the different abilities each trim could have, then let me know in the comments and I'll make a full video going over some different additions and changes I think could be interesting. But for a quick example, y'all remember the piglin brutes, right? You know, the even more dangerous versions of piglins that spawn in bastions that were added in a supplementary update, and at one point were invisible to anyone using Optifine? Yeah. Remember how these things attack the player no matter what armor they were using, while a normal piglin won't attack the player wearing at least one piece of gold armor? Yeah. These guys are the most annoying creature in the game for me, aside from phantoms, because they make all strategy in bastions pointless. Like, wearing gold doesn't even matter anymore, because these guys don't care about that, and when you end up attacking one in self-defense, all of the other piglins get aggroed as well, and then it's as if you walked in without any gold on at all. Annoying, right? My solution? The Snout armor trim, which can be found within the Bastion remnants, when applied to even a single piece of armor, will make all piglin brutes encountered act like a normal piglin. Meaning if you're wearing gold, they won't attack you unless you open a chest, mine gold, or attack them first. But that's not the only trim with a unique ability. Looking at the other trims, we have Wayfinder trim, found in Trail Ruins, which could prevent Eyes of Ender from ever breaking when thrown. Tide, found in Ocean Monuments, could allow for slightly more breath while underwater. Vex, found in Woodland Mansions, could cause any Vexes summoned by an evoker to die when the summoner is killed. And Silence, found in Ancient Cities, could cause the actions of walking, running, and jumping to let off 0 vibrations. Though all other forms of vibrations would still be in effect, like taking damage, eating, breaking blocks, opening chests, etc. Doing this, I think, would give players much more of a reason to go out and find each armor trim, and because you would only be required to wear one piece of trimmed armor to get the bonus, it would also give players a reason to make several different sets of armor, each piece with a different trim, that they would then switch between based on which adventure or project they had at hand. Kinda like how when going to the Nether, most players will swap out their diamond helmet for a gold one to ward off piglins, or players will swap between their elytra and chestplate when going on long adventures because the two can't be worn together. Again though, if y'all want a full rundown of every trim and the stat bonus that I'd assign them, then feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, leave your own suggestions down there as well. I may take some of your ideas into account when making that video, with proper credit, of course. The only rules that I'd keep in mind are that none of the trims should grant an extra bonus to damage dealt or received, and nothing that would break large parts of the game, so no like creative flight. Is this the perfect solution to the many issues plaguing the game these days? No, absolutely not. But it's a step in the right direction, and we can only hope that Mojang will start focusing more on making anything new they add just as formal as before, but with the functionality to keep players using it for years to come. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this little rant of mine, then you will love the rest of my content. A few of those videos will be on screen shortly for you to choose from. You can also subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with whenever I decide to post next, and make sure to turn notifications on so you don't miss when I do. As for today though, that's it. So until next time, take care.